Hey, what's up, guys? And I just got back from watching The Mummy, starring Tom Cruise, and I actually thought it was pretty cool. You see, I love the 90s Mummy movie with both of them, hell, with Brendan Fraser. They were awesome. There was a heart to them, and I really enjoyed them. So going into this film, I was a little skeptical that it was going to be able to be as compelling and as good. Because I don't know if most of you know, this movie starts the beginning of the Dark Universe. Universal has decided to make a universe out of all their horror movie creatures, all their monsters. The Mummy's the first one, and I'm assuming we're gonna see like Dracula, Frankenstein, all kinds of different monsters. I don't want to delve into too many of them. Don't want to spoil what movies might be ahead of us, but this is the start of that. So let's talk about it. First off, the story is that Tom Cruise's character is part of the military, and he also likes to sell some treasures that he finds along the way to the black market. And along his journey, he decides to go into a place in Mesopotamia, and he says, there's going to be some treasure here. He goes searching, a big battle happens, and all of a sudden they uncover the tomb of a mummy, an Egyptian mummy in the middle of Mesopotamia. That makes them very curious. They open it up, and lo and behold, he lets out a deadly mummy. And man, after that, the movie gets really interesting because the way they did it this time around was really interesting. Tom Cruise's character has a connection with this mummy now. Now that he's helped her escape, it wants to be a part. He plays an important role with the mummy. A very important connection they have. I don't want to talk about it too much, but let's just say this mummy's going to be hunting him down for a very specific reason. And speaking of that mummy, she was played by Sofia Boutella. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but she did a really good job as this mummy. She had a seductive but also intimidating factor about her that was very cool. Every time she was on screen, I believed she was this creature that could just rip people apart right from just by looking at them. And she did a great job. I really liked her performance as the mummy. Really believable. I really liked it. I couldn't believe how good of a job she did there. Very cool. I loved it very much. And also, the special effects in this film, as with most movies today, a lot of movies have great special effects, but this is another thing to talk about. In this movie, the special effects were very well done. When a lot of the crazy powers that she has, and she uses them, it looked wonderful. A lot of the action set pieces looked great when they had to use the CGI and everything. This movie was a beautiful eye candy. I loved it. Very cool. Every action scene that happened, I thought this was very well done. Very good cinematography, by the way. Also, during all these action scenes, I understood what was going on. I didn't find it very hard to follow. There was none of that shaky cam craziness that a lot of movies could tend to do nowadays. It looked very cohesive, and that is also due in part to Tom Cruise's ability of doing great stunt work. Really shows in this film as well. He's still got it. He's obviously getting a little older, but he still got it in action movies. He could still do this. And it looked very convincing. He does a great job. He plays very well in this movie. He's kind of a jerk, but as the movie continues, you see the type of man he is, and that's very cool, and I like that a lot. Next thing I gotta talk about, the story was very compelling, because you want to know why they have this connection. You want to see how this is gonna end. You really find it you want to know, you're interested. And not only that, the universe they're trying to build here, as I said, with the Dark Universe, very interesting. I was very compelled to just be like, wow, I cannot wait to see how they do some of these other monsters in the future. And the route they went with this film was very interesting indeed, because the way it ended really left it open to just like, wow, what's gonna happen next? How is he gonna do? How is he going to be able to handle what comes next? Very cool way to do this universe. I'm very excited to see the future in the Dark Universe, because there are a lot of great creatures that we could talk about. And also, Russell Crowe's performance in this movie, great. He didn't have a whole lot of screen time, but he had enough to really make a mark on the film. Did a great job. I liked the way he was able to just give off this very good professional persona of his, and how he was very experienced in this field, and how he knew how to handle all of the stuff that was going on. Very cool. I liked it a lot. The next thing I gotta talk about, we got, as much as I love this movie, I thought it was very good, we gotta talk about some of the flaws in this one. And the number one thing is, the romance in this movie was not very believable, because they didn't develop it enough in this film for us to understand why he cared so much about the love interest in this film. And it's mainly due to the fact that all they really did is that they had a one-night stand, and there you go. They just out of nowhere start showing that he cares about her, and I want to know why he cares about her. I want to know a little bit more about them, show them having a connection. Really didn't believe it. In the Brendan Fraser films, we saw a relationship develop. In the beginning, you can tell that they didn't like each other, and the way they started to fall for each other was very natural. It felt very fluid. You believed it. That wasn't in this film, sadly. I didn't believe the relationship, so when certain things happened in the film, it really didn't affect me all too much. I was just like, okay, whatever. Next thing I gotta talk about. There were a lot of scenes in this movie that had a lot of exposition just being thrown at you. Now, exposition is good. It makes the story better. You understand things. But sometimes the movie was just giving you information, just giving you constant amounts of information, and you were left sitting there going, okay, alright, okay, cool. And you wanted it to just kind of move on and get to the action and get more to the plot of this film, but this movie was trying to build a universe, so it suffered from the same flaws that some movies do when they're just focusing on trying to create a universe, where they just keep giving you backstory information. It was a little overflow, but it wasn't something that was super terrible, but it was noticeable, and I did not enjoy that too much. The next thing, the characters needed more development time. There were other cast members in this movie, but I feel like I didn't have a connection with really any of them. I liked Tom Cruise's character because the way he portrayed him, how he did the action, I liked him for that, but his love interest wasn't that interesting. The development for the characters in this movie wasn't good enough that I really cared about each and every single one, so that when the climax of this movie happened, you're able to sit there and go, wow, I'm invested in this moment. That's because of the lack of character development. You were left at the end just kind of watching cool stuff happen on screen without having the emotion connected to what was going on screen. And that's a very important thing. When you have a climax happening, you want to be 100% involved in this climax, care about the characters so that it can affect you better. But in this one, unfortunately, when the climax happens, it was just cool. That looked awesome. No connection, though, which is a flaw to me. I like to feel my characters. I like to be able to be in that situation 100% during a film, and I could not get 100% invested into these characters due to poor character development. Perhaps in future movies, we will see more development and understand the character, but for a first movie in a universe, that should be the main thing. Developing a character more so that we can understand him. Next thing we got to talk about, the movie didn't have as much heart. There was not a lot of heart to this film. There was not a lot of great emotion, which really disappointed me, because in Brendan Fraser's, I'm sorry to compare it to that, but inevitably you're going to, because of some of the things that they did in this movie really felt like they were trying to capture what The Mummy was with Brendan Fraser, but it just didn't have enough heart with it. All the cast was really trying, and I can tell, but I just didn't feel it. There wasn't enough emotion in this movie to really get me to be like, oh, I really care. And that's due to the fact that there is not as much heart as there was in these films. But guys, at the end of the day, The Mummy, starring Tom Cruise, is the start of a dark universe with all these creatures, and we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So you know what, I enjoyed it though. I had a lot of fun with this movie. I just didn't have a super huge connection with the characters in it. The story, while compelling, could have been better with more developed romance between Tom Cruise and the love interest. It would have been so much better if they were able to focus on some of the things I brought up. But you know what? I still had fun. I'm very excited to see the next film in this dark universe with the different creatures and monsters. So at the end of the day, The Mummy gets a B+ from me. Guys, go out there and see this. If you like the original Mummy with Brendan Fraser, I know it wasn't the original, but if you like the one with Brendan Fraser, I think you'll like this. You'll see there's some flaws to it, but I think you'll enjoy it. And some of the Easter eggs they show in this movie of the different monsters that we're going to see in the future, I think there's a lot to like in this film. It's not amazing, but it is definitely not a bad film. You should definitely go check it out if you're a fan of all that stuff. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about this movie. I'm curious. Do you guys think it sucked? Did you guys think it was okay? I'm curious about what you guys saw because I had a good time. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a cool movie. Definitely something to go out and go see this weekend. Unless you haven't seen Wonder Woman yet, go see that movie right away. But guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and follow me on Twitter at Planetary Review. I couldn't fit the S. And as always, have a great day.